I'll recite my prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanasalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantyam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Ragadhanadvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatprate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanosute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha kalpatarubhyasya krutva kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I'm reciting the Bhagavatam prayers. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udhirayet susrusho shraddhana shraddhanasya vasudeva kataruchi syam mahatsevaya vipra punyatirtha nishevanat शृण्वतां स्वकथा कृष्णा पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तना हृदयन्तस्तु हि भद्राणि विदुनोति सृत्सताम् नष्टप्रायेषु च भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवति उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टके तदा रजस्तमो भावा कामलोभश्च इच्छेत एते अन्नविधिं स्थितिं सात्वः प्रसीदति एवं प्रसन्न मनसो भगवद्भक्ति योगतः भगवति तत्त्वविज्ञानं मुक्तसङ्गस्य जायते भिद्यते हृदयग्रन्थे स्थितन्ते सर्वसंशयाः क्षीयन्ते च कर्माणि दृष्टा एवात्मीश्वरे. Sanatan Goswami prayers. सर्वशास्त्राब्धिपीयूषा सर्ववेदैकसत्फला सर्वसिद्धान्तरत्नाढ्या सर्वलोकैकदृक्पदा सर्वभागवतप्राणा श्रीमद्भागवत प्रभो कलिबन्धान्तु दिव्यात्या श्रीकृष्णा परिवर्तिता परमानन्दपाठाय प्रेमवृक्षक्षरायते सर्वदा सर्वसेव्याय श्रीकृष्णाय नमोस्तुते मदेकबन्धो मत्सङ्गन् मद्गुरो मन्महातना मन्निष्ठारक मद्भाग्या मदानन्द नमोस्तुते असाधु साधुता आयिन् अतिञ्चोचनता आहा मुञ्च कदाचिन्मां प्रेम हृत्कान्तयो स्पृहा. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Today my verse is Srimad Bhagavatam 1.13.4. I'll share my screen. I'm reciting today's verse. Tadedam Bhagavan Rajan Eka Atmanam Swadrik Anantaro Bhati Pashyatam Mayaya Rudha. Tadedam Bhagavan Rajan Eka Atmanam Swadrik Anantaro Bhati Pashyatam Mayaya Rudha. Tadedam Bhagavan Rajan Eka Atmanam Swadrikam Anantaro Bhati Pashyatam Mayaya Rudha. Synonyms: Tat, therefore; Idam, this manifestation; Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead; Rajan, O king; Ekaha, one without a second; Atma, the super soul; Atmanam, by his energies; Swadrik, qualitatively like him; Antaraha, without; Antaraha, within and by himself; Bhati, so manifests; Pashya, look; Tam, onto him; Mayaya, by manifestations of different energies; Urudha, appears to be meaning. Translations. Translation. Therefore, O king, you should look to the Supreme Lord only, who is one without a second, and who manifests himself by different energies, and is both within and without. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The Supreme Lord, personality of Godhead, is one without a second, but he manifests himself by different energies because he is by nature blissful. The living beings are also manifestations of his marginal energy, qualitatively one with the Lord, and are innumerable living beings, both within and without the external and internal energies of the Lord. Since the Supreme World is a manifestation of the Lord's internal energy, the living beings within that internal potency are qualitatively one with the Lord, without contamination from the external potency. Although quantitatively one with the Lord, the living being, due to contamination of the material world, is pervertedly manifested, and therefore he experiences so-called happiness and distress in the material world. Such experiences are all ephemeral and do not affect the spirit soul. The perception of such ephemeral happiness and distress is due only to the forgetfulness of his qualities, which are equal to the Lord's. There is, however, a regular current from the Lord himself, from within and without, by which to rectify the fallen condition of the living being. From within, he corrects the desiring living beings as localized Paramatma, and from without, he corrects by his manifestations the spiritual master and the revealed scriptures. One should look on to the Lord. One should not be disturbed by the so-called manifestation of the happiness and distress, but he should try to cooperate with the Lord and in his outward activities for correcting the fallen souls. By his order only, one should become a spiritual master and cooperate with the Lord. One should not become a spiritual master for one's personal benefit, for some material gain, or as an avenue of business or occupation for earning livelihood. Bona fide spiritual masters who took on to the Supreme Lord to cooperate with him are actually quantitatively one with the Lord, and the forgetful ones are perverted at reflections only. Yudhishthira Maharaj is advised by Narada, therefore, not to be disturbed by the affairs of so-called happiness and distress, but to look only onto the Lord to execute the mission for which the Lord has descended. That was his prime duty. I would like to refer so far what happened in this chapter. The Dhritarashtra quitting his home. When Vidura returned from his journey, he was welcomed by all the inhabitants and was requested to tell stories of his pilgrimage. After being welcomed back, Vidura approached Dhritarashtra and informed him that now was the time to move on to the Vanaprastha stage. He told his elder brother to leave the palace quietly and travel to the Himalayas for liberation. Gandhari, seeing her husband was leaving, followed him, as did Vidura. Wanting food finished for morning duties, Maharaj Yudhishthira travelled to the elder's palace to pay respects. However, noticing that three elders of the family were missing, he asked Sanjaya, who felt betrayed by his master, about the locations of his aunt and uncles. Thereafter, the Rishi Narada appeared in the palace, where he recounted that he had happened to the Kuru elders. As a pure devotee of Lord Krishna, Yudhishthira was able to understand what Narada spoke. Narada reminds Yudhishthira Maharaj of the self-realization process and why he could not lament for anyone, since Krishna controls the will of everyone, joining and separating the living entities. He then explained that like a cow restrained by rope has very limited movement and controlled by its master, so are human beings restrained by the Vedic scriptures and controlled by the Lord. As a player brings toys together and plays according to his will, the Lord will bring men together and separates them. He explained that the soul is eternal and not the body, and asked Yudhishthira to give up his anxiety due to ignorance, since he thought his uncle and aunt could not exist without his help. Narada Muni remarked that we living entities are bound to Kala, time, Karma, action, and Guna, material nature. We are bound by these aspects like a cobra binding its prey. He further explains that exploitation of the weaker living beings by the stronger ones is a natural law of existence. And I'll share my today's screen again. So Srila Prabhupada very elaborately described about this verse. I'm most unqualified, but I try to, whatever is realization, I share with all of you, dear devotees. So actually, Prabhupada, he gave a detailed in description about the contamination of the material world. Is pervertedly manifested, and therefore he experienced so-called happiness and distress. What is contamination of the world? We have in 3.37, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Kamayesha Krodayesha Rajo Guna Samadbhava Mahashano Mahapapma Vidyenam Miha Varninam. Supreme Personality of Godhead said, it is lust only, Arjuna, who is born of contact with the material mode of passion and later transformed to vrat, and which is all endeavoring sinful enemy of this world. When a living entity comes in contact with the material creation, his eternal love for Krishna is transformed into lust. When it is an association of passion, when not satisfied, lust turns into vrat, which turns into illusion and continues into the material existence. Therefore, lust is the biggest enemy of the living entity and induces the pure souls to stay entangled in the material world. Lust and vrat can be purified by turning to Krishna consciousness, where they become a friend rather than enemy. For example, Hanuman is a great servant, great servitor of Lord Rama. He had shown his wrath by burning Ravana's golden city, and by doing so, he became a great devotee of. And the next is he experiences so-called happiness and distress in the material world. In 2.14 Bhagavad Gita, it talks about Matra Sparshastu Kaunteya Sitoshna Sukadukada Agama Payano Nityas Titikshasva Bharata. O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and their disappearance is in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception. O scion of Bharata, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. Yesterday, Dhananjay Pandit Prabhuji told a good story about the butterfly, how happiness and distress continuously follow each other. And a sober person, a dhira, does not get disturbed by these changes. And next we'll go ephemeral. Such changes, such experiences are all ephemeral and do not affect the spirit soul. Ephemeral means lasting for a short time. Our distress and happiness is caused by forgetting our true nature, that I'm not this body, I'm the spirit soul. One needs to follow the truth and dharma, follow orders of Krishna. One is under the control of Lord Krishna and he will take care. We should have that faith. And later on, Narada had told Yudhishthira Maharaj that he could not think of himself as caretaker, like Narada instructs Yudhishthira that he should not think like he's the caretaker of his uncle and aunt. The notion is an illusion. Yudhishthira only needed to perform Krishna consciousness and not to think of who would provide food and shelter for them. Narada informed him that he was a wrong thought process. Going to the next. Therefore, a regular current from the Lord himself from within and without, by which to rectify the fallen condition of the living being. From within, he corrects the desiring living beings as a localized Paramatma, and from without, he corrects by his manifestations the spiritual master and the revealed scriptures. One should look on to the Lord. One should not be disturbed by the so-called manifestation of happiness and distress, but he should try to cooperate with the Lord in his outward activities for correcting the fallen souls. Srila Prabhupada had wanted to become a freedom fighter, but when he went to his guru, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he told him that he has traveled to the America to preach holy name, since freedom fighting was a temporary belief, but the thoughts of Krishna were eternal. And Narada is one of the greatest gurus, reminding us of Krishna consciousness and what is best for us. One word from spiritual master completely ended Prabhupada's life and changed the whole world. A guru is one who protects and brings us close to Krishna. Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadeshyanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshina. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized souls can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. The path of self-realization is very difficult. The Lord advises us to find a genuine spiritual guru in a line of disciplic succession, starting with the Lord himself. Not any guru can be genuine without being in this succession, as the Lord is the original guru, and anyone in the succession can convey the Lord's message as it is to the disciples. Materialist people did not understand the strength of the Mahamantra as they only see the body, not the soul within. A self-realized person understands the difference between the body and the soul. The Guru is equivalent to Krishna as he brings others closer to Krishna from the sense gratification. Since the Guru is considered as a protector, he will lift us up out of Maya. The Lord corrects the living entity from within as Paramatma and through scriptures and Guru from outside. So here I want to explain a little bit more how the scriptures and Guru will help us in a systematic way. There are, we need to get to closer to Krishna. So we have to follow the employ our three Ds. One is discrimination, determination, and discipline. The first is discrimination, is knowing the difference between good and bad and how it affects us. Good choices benefit us in the long run, and it requires the need to contemplate. It's like everybody knows that vision first and action next. Bad choices will not benefit us and are made without any prior thought. So how do we better discriminate? How do we get that ability to discriminate? Only the key is chanting the Mahamantra increases our willpower and ability to understand the Srimad Bhagavatam. So that is the key process, the chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And studying for the Shastras will bring the ability to discriminate. Then while doing this, we can replace our negative thought with a positive thought. And the second one, the determination. The determination is to choose either Maya or Krishna. So we have 5 fingers. We can compare these 5 fingers to 5 senses of the body. And this is the where we can compare the palm to the mind, and which is controlled by intelligence. So if the senses are compared to the kids and the mind is the mother and the intelligence compared to the father, if the mother and children follow the father's wishes, then it will be very a good and nice family. However, if the children doesn't listen to their parents, then there will be chaos everywhere. Into Bhagavad Gita 2.58 recounts that just like a tortoise withdraws it in its limbs from all sides, he who can withdraw his senses from the object is firmly fixed in perfect consciousness. In one commentary on this topic, we learn that most animals have one sense organ as their weakness. The deer weakness is sound, and the elephant is the touch, and the moth is the sight, fire, and the fish is the taste, and the bee is the smell. For example, if a moth sees fire, it loses all sense of control and flies straight into the fire. However, human beings have all senses as their weakness, making this technique all the more important. By protecting intelligence, one can easily follow the Guru. For instance, with determination, we can control the senses, keep distance from the tempting environment. A nice proverb shows this concept in the phrase like out of sight equals out of mind. So how do we better our ability to determine? The best is explained with the story. The purport of 6.24 tells the story of sparrow and the ocean. I will briefly describe that story. A sparrow laid her eggs on the shore of the ocean, but the big ocean carried away the eggs on its waves. A sparrow became very upset and asked the ocean to return her eggs. The ocean did not consider her request. Seeing this, the sparrow decided to dry up the ocean. She began to pick out the water in her small beak and everyone laughed at her for her impossible determination. The news of her activity and at Garuda, the gigantic bird carrier of Lord Vishnu, heard it. He became compassionate towards his small sister bird, and so he came to see the sparrow. Garuda was very pleased by the determination of the small sparrow, and he promised to help her. Thus Garuda asked the ocean to return her eggs, else he himself would take up the work of the sparrow. The ocean was frightened at this and returned the eggs. In this story, we are the sparrow, the eggs, Krishna consciousness, and the ocean being Maya. Maya, the ocean, is extremely powerful. However, with the help of spiritual master Garuda, in this case, we can overcome any disturbance caused by Maya. When Maya approaches us, we need to be alert, pray and surrender to Krishna, and be in association of devotees, and will be protected. To discipline our, so the next comes the third one. We are done with the discrimination, determination, and the third is discipline. So discipline is ourselves means to regulate our schedule. That is like sleeping, waking up, eating at the proper time and everything. Like there is a saying, early to bed and early to rise makes the man happy, healthy, wealthy, and wise. In 2.41, Bhagavad Gita tells us, those who are in this path are unwavering in purpose, and their aim is one. O beloved child of the Gurus, the intelligence of those who are indecisive in split. A strong faith in Krishna consciousness that one should be elevated to the higher perfection of life is called Vyavasayatmika intelligence. Faith means unflinching trust in something sublime. When one is engaged in the duties of Krishna consciousness, he need not act in relationship to the material world with obligations to family, traditions, humanity, or nationality. Fruitive activities are the engagements of one's reactions from past good and bad deeds. When one is awakened in Krishna consciousness, he no longer needs to endeavor for good results in his activities. When one is situated in Krishna consciousness, all the activities are on the absolute plane, for they are no longer subject to dualities like good and bad. The humankind can only focus on one at a time. Therefore, we must attune our attention towards Krishna and Krishna only. Chant attentively, live in the present, follow the scriptures, and our ignorance will be destroyed by the Guru. Our most important duty is to follow Krishna's word, and I'll pray to Srila Prabhupada to give us strength to follow Krishna and spread Krishna consciousness. And the last, I want to discuss about our prime duty. I would like to recite this shloka to just to get like to know how and Krishna will help us. Daivihisha gunamayi mama maya daratyaya mama eva prapadyante maya imetam tarantite. This divine energy of mind consisting of three modes of material nature is difficult to overcome, but those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. Krishna consciousness is the prime duty for all living entities to follow. One should see Krishna everywhere and hear Krishna Katha. Smell flowers from the lotus feet of Krishna, eat only Krishna Prasadam, and perform Krishna-centric activities. And I want to conclude today's verse with my conclusion statement. In illusion, Yudhishthira Maharaj thought that he had to be the caretaker of his elderly relatives, even though they were from opposing side. He was worried that they would not be able to survive without his protection. However, Narada appeased him by saying that everyone needed to move on to the next aspect of their life. So, not to lament the disappearance of his uncles and aunts, but instead on carry out the will of Krishna. And I want to conclude by offering to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj with the last one. Kripa bindu diya koro ye dase trina peki hati hina. Gurudev Kripa bindu diya koro ye dase trina peka hati hina. Sakala sahane bala diya koro nija mane spruhahina. Sakala sahane bala diya koro nija mane spruhahina. Gurudev Kripa bindu diya koro ye dase trina pekayati hina. Gurudev, O spiritual master, give to this servant just a drop of mercy. I am lower than a blade of grass. Give me your help. Give me all the help. Give me strength. Give me strength. Let me be as you are, without desires and aspirations. I want to conclude the session. Please share your realization and please bless me and please pray for me. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj.
Mataji, wonderful class, Mataji. I'm going to listen to it once again. You maintain such a good tempo. So many, wonderful, instructions that came through. Really wonderful. I had only one question that stayed in my mind because Yudhishthira Maharaj, is now thinking, or that is what is being said, that he should not be thought of as the one who is going to take care of everyone. And Narada Muni is telling him to let go. But at the same time, as a Vaishnava, are we all not supposed to think not as, we are the ones who are going to take care of everyone, but give compassion? And isn't that what Yudhishthira Maharaj is doing? If that is not what it is, I am confused. How do we handle these situations? Thank you, Mataji.
Prabhuji, you are asking me. I'm having the same issue, Prabhuji. Because of the COVID situation, my parents are in India. And actually, I felt like this is the way like Lord is instructing me not to deviate from Krishna consciousness. So Yudhishthira Maharaj knows that everything, he knows that, but because of illusion at that point, just for our purpose, like to tell us back one more time, I think he was put into illusion by Krishna himself, so that we'll be get benefited. For me, this words really helped, Prabhuji, because I got stronger, because every day I get a call from India. This person is having COVID and he's in the hospital. And I don't know what all I can do is pray for them and ask Krishna to help them. But these words really helped me, Prabhuji. So that's what I'm contemplating. I think I'm not the controller. Krishna is the one. So I'm just praying to him. So if
Thank you.
anybody thoughts, I'm not sure whether I answered correct or proper.
Thank you, Mataji. You put it in perspective. So, if you lose the big picture and the perspective, then, I will be confused. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Yes. Hare Krishna, Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Um,
Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji.
Very, very inspiring, deeply, Mataji. I was also thinking like Radha Gunjapare Prabhu, I should hear again and again. It is very inspiring, very this thing.
Please pray for me,
Thank you.
Mataji. I am a dancer. I'm not a speaker.
You are speaking from a spiritual platform, Mataji. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Very good.
So can we conclude the session if there are no realizations? Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasudeva Gaura Bhakta